What's happening, Street Sports family? It's your boy Rico bringing y'all my 53-man roster prediction. Pretty simple. Don't need to explain much, except for the fact that with each position group, I'm going to have a confidence level rating, which is basically how confident I feel I'm accurate about how many players will make the roster in this specific position group and which players will make that roster also. But besides that, everything is plain and simple and exactly what you're expecting to see in here. Let's get it. I have two quarterbacks making the final 53-man roster, Alex Smith and Colt McCoy, and I have a 4.5 out of 5 confidence level of accuracy. Not much controversy here. Alex Smith was given a long-term deal and the keys to running the franchise for at least a few years. Jay Gruden expects him to come in and produce with a high knowledge and command of the playbook, even after only being here for 8 months, and not yet playing an entire 4 quarters with it yet. He is a vet that has been through this before though. You know, with going to a new team as the presumed starter. With his experience in this league, athleticism, and good decision making, Jay Gruden trusts Alex Smith enough to expand the playbook and get creative this year. We will see the Redskins running creative plays that they have never run before under the Jay Gruden regime. There were times in training camp where Alex Smith ran the option, not even just run pass option, but the real option. Alex Smith will truly be used as a dual threat quarterback, unlike Kirk. And with a healthy Jordan Reed to replace Travis Kelce, a healthy Paul Richardson to replace Tyreek Hill, a better offensive line, and this Adrian Peterson-Chris Thompson duo will give Alex Smith a high-powered offense to lead. Alex just needs to wipe off that rust. He looked great in camp, but looked bad against the Broncos, even though Jay Gruden wasn't even calling real plays, and a few passes Alex Smith threw were dropped. Now, Colt McCoy has been here for a long time and has proven he can step up and take command of the offense and be effective in pretty much every way other than the 2-minute offense, which is where he has more interceptions than touchdowns. But Colt is also more athletic than he gets credit for, so knock on wood, if Alex Smith were to get injured, Colt could run the offense in a similar fashion with the RPOs and such, and Jay Gruden doesn't have to throw away the entire playbook like he has to when we can't run 2 tight end sets. We don't miss a huge beat if Colt has to step in. Kevin Hogan will not make the roster. I'm definitely I'm rooting for you type of guy, the underdog cheerleader, but I have to be realistic. With all of the competition we have at defensive line, wide receiver, and cornerback, keeping a third quarterback is already a struggle. But then Kevin Hogan went out there and didn't produce as well as he needed to take the roster spot, even though he did have some nice drives against the Jets and Broncos. Kevin Hogan will more than likely play most of the 4th preseason game against the Ravens, only splitting reps with that new Jessup guy that we got just so we can put bodies out there. So he will have plenty of time to prove himself, but it may already be too late unless he goes out there and looks like an MVP candidate, or at the very least look like somebody that can command an offense against the great defenses we will play against this season, such as the Texans, Jaguars, Giants twice, Ravens, and the Eagles twice. The Redskins will keep 4 running backs, and my confidence level of how many running backs and which running backs we will keep is 3 out of 5. I have Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, Rob Kelly, and Samaje Perine. Adrian Peterson, aka AP or AD, looked like the best first and second down back we have on our roster against the Broncos. 11 carries for 56 yards had the Redskins Stadium hype. There were AP chants like he was the MVP. The crowd loved him. And I was also very impressed and surprised. In just 11 carries, he went from does he have anything left in the tank at 33 years old to he better get the most carries against Arizona. His durability is still in question, whether he can play at a high level for 16 games, but he looked great against the Broncos. Also showing some stamina to be able to run the ball effectively on 7 straight carries. Back to back to back. Cutting, spinning, juking, powering through contact, turning his feet, and being patient and decisive. He also showed he can be effective in the zone run scheme, which was a worry I had for him as far as being able to integrate himself into our offense, especially quick enough to play week 1. But he went out there and proved that and more. Shouts out to Adrian Peterson for being such a great pickup by the Redskins organization with his very team-friendly contract. All upside from here. Chris Thompson is not fully confident in his leg that he broke last year just yet, but when he becomes confident in it and isn't afraid of contact, he will be the explosive third down back we saw for more than half a season last year. He was one of the scariest third down backs in the league last year. and I expect him to pick up right where he left off in New Orleans last year and make highlight reels on a weekly basis. Going from taking a pounding from AP to getting dashed in the screen game by CT is going to give defenses headaches and keep defensive coordinators up all night trying to create a game plan. Rob Kelly, through camp, was looking pretty good, but with his lack of explosion, there isn't much we can do with him. He might make the roster because Jay Gruden does have a proven soft spot for him, but it's looking dark, to be honest. He is definitely on the fringe. And Samaje Perine will more than likely make the roster despite being injured. He was fully dressed for practice today, so I'm not exactly sure how optimistic to be about that. But like I said, he will more than likely make the roster because not only wasn't he as bad as he was made out to be last year, even though he does have a fumbling problem though, but one of the main reasons he will make the roster is because he's literally 1 year removed from being a 4th round pick and the guy we hope to take over running back 1 duties, like Geis was expected to do this year when drafted. Once Samaje Perine works on his fumbling problem and learns how to pass protect better and more consistently, he can truly be a useful asset in our running back backfield. He looked good before he got hurt in this preseason. There was some room for optimism. I feel like his spot on the roster is safer than Rob Kelly. And even though I don't have Bibbs making the roster, I have to explain myself. A lot of people feel we should keep 5 running backs on the roster, saying Kabri Bibbs should make the roster. Reason 1, he has looked very good in preseason, making the big plays that Chris Thompson would. He is a pretty dynamic 3rd down back. Reason 2, other than Chris Thompson and Darius Geis, who was gone for the 2018 season, Kabri Bibbs is the only running back who can be dependable in the passing game. So if Chris Thompson were to get hurt again, he would be our only option as a pass-catching 3rd down back. And without CT and Bibbs, Gruden will have to throw a big chunk of the playbook into the trash. Reason 3, with CT not having played in even 1 snap in the preseason, I'm worried that he may not be 100% yet. Jay Gruden said today that CT looks great and is ready for week 1, but I'm not putting all of my faith into that just yet. Since we are playing the Cardinals and Colts week 1 and 2, I don't think it's worth it to rush CT back if he's not ready. Let Bibbs go out there and handle the work. But if CT is 100%, then it's dark for Kabri Bibbs, y'all. And as much as I want Kabri Bibbs to make the roster with as good he's looked, they have yet to keep him on the 53-man roster leading into a season. Just speaking from historical facts. Also, Bibbs was brought in off the street last year. 3rd down backs can be brought in off the street because all of the spread offenses colleges run. And as cold as it sounds, Bibbs will more than likely not get picked up by another team, and we can bring him back if we need to. But if Bibbs is a little more than just a 3rd down back, and if he goes crazy in the 4th preseason game, don't be surprised if he takes the roster spot over Rob Kelly, whose stock is slowly going down as every day passes, especially amongst fans. Bibbs actually looked great on 1st and 2nd downs in the preseason, so we'll see how this goes. Now I have 6 wide receivers making the final 53-man roster, and my confidence level in that is 3.5 out of 5. I have Josh Doctson, Jamison Crowder, Paul Richardson, Maurice Harris, Trey Quinn, and Cam Sims making the roster. Starting with Josh Doctson. Hopefully Josh Doctson can become what he was at TCU. He was virtually unguardable in college, and sadly, consistent injuries have derailed his development at the NFL level. The NFL is a different animal, and he needs time and experience to adjust to the new terrain. There's hope. His route running has noticeably improved over this offseason. There's evidence that he can improve when he's healthy long enough to do so. But also, Kirk was playing for that next contract and was not about to throw 50-50 balls that may get intercepted. And Josh Doctson's most valuable asset is consistently winning jump balls. So in Kirk's offense, Doctson barely existed until that Seattle game where Kirk actually threw some 50-50 balls. Jay Gruden wants his quarterbacks to take chances, and Alex Smith seems receptive of that, so Doctson should see more opportunities to be great this coming season. Jamison Crowder will be Mr. Dependable for Alex Smith. They have already built some rapport over the offseason. They have some chemistry building. And Jamison being a slot receiver, it makes sense for Alex Smith to be comfortable with throwing it to him. Jamison has been one of our more dependable wide receivers of recent years other than Pierre. So I'm excited to see Jamison go out there and get a lot of receptions as Alex Smith's safety blanket. And after last year, I'm not sure if he will be on punt returning duties this year. But I am confident in his receiving abilities. That will never fade away. Ex-Seahawk Paul Richardson was brought in as a free agent to be our deep threat presence that takes the lid off the defense and keeps them honest deep. I won't say he's Deshaun Jackson, but he brings a similar value. He wasn't used as a deep threat in Seattle for some reason, So hopefully we can get the most out of his potential. And luckily for us, he's also a very underrated route runner. I'm excited to see how he grows within the confines of our offense. He is very good at separating from DBs, which is something our wide receivers struggled with last year. Dre Gruden is a great play designer and caller, so I'm excited to see Richardson used in many ways. Jet sweeps, post routes, fade routes, screens. There's a lot of ways that we can use Paul Richardson this year to add to our creative offense. That's going to be fun to watch, even if you're not a Redskins fan. Maurice Harris showed some flashes towards the end of last season when he finally got his shot and was having a great 2018 camp. So he's almost a lock to make the roster, even despite being a little banged up and not having played in any preseason game. He's a big body that has improved his route running and can go up and win jump balls. So I'm expecting him to have his most impactful year this year, especially with our wide receiver core not having an identity yet. Maurice can help create that identity. Trey Quinn's great hands, great route running, and return game potential all make him very likely to make the 53-man roster and to be a contributor early on. He will be the backup slot receiver behind Jamison Crowder, and with as much Alex Smith loves to throw short into great route runners, Trey Quinn can have a very underrated contribution this rookie season. He didn't perform as well as I thought he would in the preseason, but I still feel like he will make the roster. Only thing going against him is that there are plenty of good route running slot receivers out there just on the street, so Trey Quinn will have to produce to keep his job. And Cam Sims, he may have made some mistakes in camp and that one preseason game against the Jets with that drop that led to an interception, but he also made some very splashy plays in that game and camp. He has height and jump ball ability that you can't teach. He can prove to be a great red zone threat, as seen in that Jets preseason game that I have on the screen right now. He is a moldable talent that can only get better from here. Also, Robert Davis is out for season. Simi Cobb started to show a little something, but it more than likely was not enough. And Brian Quick is pretty good, but has no ceiling or potential. He is what he is. But Brian Quick is also a good special teams guy and has a lot of experience, and he made the 53-man roster last year. But my guess is Cam Sims. First of all, because Brian Quick has been banged up to the point that we haven't even gotten a good look at him this time around. And also because Cam Sims, though I wouldn't put my life savings on it, has the youth and potential to grow into a great receiver. He is a project just like many of the players that will barely make the 53-man roster. He is the type of player that if we release him, he will get scooped up by somebody else. He has room to grow. He may lack a lot of experience, but he's got to get some somewhere at some time. And why not start now and build upon the traits that he has? I have 3 tight ends making our final 53-man roster. Fully confident in this, 5 out of 5. I have Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, and Jeremy Sprinkle. Simple as it gets. Jordan Reed just needs to stay healthy. He is as lethal as it gets as a pass-catching tight end. His route running and catching are elite. He just has an injury gene, and his blocking is very questionable. But if we can get at least 12 healthy games out of him this year, that will be huge. Jay Gruden loves his 2 tight end sets. Vernon Davis is even older than AP, and he still got the burners. He knows how to create separation with his route running, and he is a dependable option for his former 49ers teammate, Alex Smith, when they used to play together during Vernon's golden years. Vernon's blocking isn't anywhere near as bad as Jordan Reed's, but it still needs improvement. But he will definitely be a reliable target for Alex Smith in 2018. Jeremy Sprinkle is improving as a route runner, pass catcher, and blocker. His blocking is far ahead of his receiving capabilities as of now, but he has shown some potential. And he may grow to be our best 2-way tight end, blocking and receiving. I'm looking forward to how much he progresses this season. Not expecting a big step this year, but the Redskins' long-term plan for him is for him to grow into something great. And the only other tight end that could have possibly have made this roster is J.P. Holtz. He was a dark horse to make the roster after he showed his value at fullback against the Broncos. AP had a great few carries, and J.P. Holtz was a major contributor to a few of them. AP's best season and best yards per carry statistics come from when he had a solid fullback in front of him to lead the way. But AP said in a recent interview that he almost prefers a single back formation because it takes another defender out of the box. And since the Redskins O-line is probably the best he's ever run behind in a long time, he won't need a fullback to take up some of the blocking slack. AP feels that the Redskins O-line is good enough for him to be successful in single back formation. He can be more patient than he's had a chance to be the past few years, and make some plays. If he can be successful without a fullback, then we don't need one, even though I did like what I saw from Holtz against the Broncos. I have us keeping 9 offensive linemen on the final 53-man roster. My confidence level is 3 out of 5, and that's because of the last 2 spots I'm going to talk about. We already know what the starting 5 is from left to right. Elite Trent Williams, Sean Laval, who had some pretty good blocks against the Broncos, second-year Chase Roulier, elite Brandon Sheriff, and very underrated Morgan Moses. Just hope everybody, mainly Trent Williams and Sean Laval, can stay healthy. If so, we definitely have a top 10 offensive line in this league, and maybe even a top 5. Now, Ty Nsekhe is a pretty good backup at tackle for the Redskins. Without a doubt, our 6th best offensive lineman. There were thoughts about him trying to learn how to play guard, but those plans never took off. He will be our most dependable backup tackle until Geron Christian catches up to the NFL's strength and speed. Geron Christian is a tackle with the ability to play both at right and left, and he has a lot of potential. But he has shown us this offseason and preseason that he's going to need some time before he is dependable. He has a lot of moldable traits, great footwork, good technique and athleticism. He just needs to gain some NFL strength and figure out what's going on. Tyler Catalina and Tony Bergstrom are not good, and they were not good in camp or preseason. They had moments, but overall, we can't really depend on them. But no other offensive lineman on the edge of the roster played any less bad than them. So we are more than likely stuck with them too. But at least Tony can play both guard and center, and Tyler can play both guard and tackle, even though he's much better at guard. Tony has experience and more versatility than Catalina, but Catalina has the size and upside. He just hasn't put it all together. I have a 5 out of 5 confidence level for our other 7th offensive lineman, but with there being an honest possibility that the Redskins might find a guy off the street to come in as the 9th offensive lineman any day now, has my confidence level in my accuracy plummeting to a 3 out of 5 from a 5 out of 5. You never know what might happen in this next week and a half as it concerns the offensive line backups. Now we get to the defensive side of the ball. I have 6 defensive linemen making the final 53-man roster with my confidence level at 4 out of 5. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis, Anthony Lanier, Tim Settle, and Ziggy Hood. We already know about the Bama boys. The Bama boys, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, give us a very bright future in terms of interior defensive line play. Both of them are great against the run and pass. They both have great strength, excellent footwork and technique, and IQ. The sky's the limit for them too, especially with their prior chemistry in college. Jonathan Allen is more of a pass rush specialist with elite technique, and Deron Payne is more of a anchor, nose tackle, bully, and monster in the run stuffing game. But both of them can do both. Jonathan Allen is great at run stopping, and Deron Payne has a very underrated ability to rush the passer and penetrate. I'm excited to see what we're going to see from them not only this year, but years to come. Last year, Matt Ioannidis was having a great year until Jonathan Allen got hurt, and then offensive lines began to double team. Even PFF had him rated as a top 20 defensive lineman before Jonathan Allen's injury. Him starting in the base 3-4 and coming in as depth in the nickel package is unfair. A fresh and healthy Matt Ioannidis coming in as part of a deadly D-line rotation will prove to be very effective. Anthony Lanier is our pass rushing specialist. He isn't very good against the run, but he can get to the quarterback like nobody's business. And when he can't get home, he has a knack for batting down passes. Bringing him on 3rd and longs will be lethal. Tim Settle is probably the biggest steal of the draft for us. He has so much potential. He has so many moldable traits, such as elite ball get-off, technique, strength, and many more that I covered in my film breakdown. And he's going out there and showing it in preseason also. This wasn't just a college thing. He can do this in the NFL. He is already a good defensive lineman, but he can be groomed into a disruptive starter. But with our defensive line situation, this potential Pro Bowler may come in as part of a rotation, which is ridiculous. Now, to be honest, it was hard for me to pick Ziggy Hood over Phil Taylor, especially with how effective Phil Taylor was against the Broncos. And he's finally healthy, y'all. But Ziggy Hood is more diverse. Phil Taylor is better at nose tackle than Ziggy Hood, but Ziggy is good at playing anywhere on the defensive line, or at the very least serviceable. Ziggy Hood can step in anywhere on the D-line, and I'm pretty sure the Redskins will care about that more than Phil Taylor's presence in the middle, especially with Deron Payne and Tim Settle already proven to be great nose tackles. I've been rooting for you very hard, Phil Taylor, but it might not have been enough this time, dog. Now the outside linebackers. I have 4 of them making the team with a confidence level of 5 out of 5. Ryan Kerrigan, Preston Smith, Ryan Anderson, and Pernell McPhee. Ryan Kerrigan and Preston Smith are going to do what they do. They are mirror images of each other. Preston has flashes of greatness in pass rushing, but he is very solid against the run. Ryan Kerrigan is an elite pass rusher, but has flashes of greatness in run defense. They are guaranteed starters and impact players. Ryan Kerrigan will more than likely make the Pro Bowl again. Last year, he had more sacks than Von Miller and Khalil Mack. He gets busy. He's dangerously underrated. And Preston Smith is still evolving and getting better by the year. This might be his breakout Pro Bowl season. I hope he takes a large step forward and becomes more consistent. Ryan Anderson was a pretty big disappointment last year, especially as a second-round pick. Still don't know why we drafted him that high, but the Redskins believe that he may become a special player. I haven't heard any buzz from him this offseason, so that must mean he hasn't progressed much yet. But either way, he has a secure roster spot, being 1 year removed as a second-round pick. Ex-Bear Pernell McPhee was brought in as a free agent this offseason. He is a good run stopper with some ability to rush the passer, even though he's not very good at it. He can be a very effective player if he can get 100% healthy and stay that way. A lot of his recent film has come from a banged-up version of him, so people think he is not a good edge rusher, but he can be very effective for us if he ever stays healthy long enough to get going, especially with him having such a team-friendly contract. And it looks like we may not bring back Junior Gillette, so I'm a little disappointed in that. Junior brought a pass rush ability that we just do not have without him. But Pernell is at least very experienced. Also, Pete Robinson and Vontae Diggs put some good tape out there this preseason, but even with Robinson's special teams value, I don't think they're good enough to either replace one of the 4 outside linebackers or take away a roster spot from another position that we need more depth in. 2 starters, 2 backups. Simple enough for me. Now the inside linebackers. I have 5 of them with a confidence level of 4.5 out of 5. I have Zach Brown, Mason Foster, Montrell Spate, Josh Harvey Clemens, and Sean Dion Hamilton. Zach Brown led the league in tackles all year until he got hurt in the final 4 games. His presence has clearly been missed in the preseason, with our first team defense getting mutilated against the Broncos, missing tackles and everything. Zach Brown is a speed demon that can do everything you want a linebacker to do except for cover very well. He is serviceable in coverage, but is not his forte. His run stopping, blitzing, and ability to get sideline to sideline at the speed he does is deadly, and it's exactly why we extended him for a few more years. Shouts out to the Redskins for getting that deal done, because we were afraid for a minute, y'all. Mason Foster is a great partner for Zach Brown. He is pretty good in coverage, he is good against the run, and according to PFF, he was the most productive pass rusher in the league amongst inside linebackers in 2017. He just needs to stay healthy. Him and Zach Brown have chemistry, and I look forward to them building on it and making each other better, communicating, and holding each other accountable. Montrell Spate is a dependable backup that has shown flashes as a starter. He has had a good preseason showing and certainly seems to be a lock on the roster. He is limited in coverage skills and somewhat in instincts, but his run stopping is solid, and his tackling is sure. And even though Zach Vigil has looked pretty good too, Montrell Spate is also a special teams captain and makes plays in special teams coverage, which gives him an edge over Vigil as a complete package. The final inside linebacker roster spot is between Montrell and Vigil. Josh Harvey Clemens and Sean Dion Hamilton have too much potential to not make the roster. And between Montrell and Vigil, like I just said, I'm pretty sure Montrell Spate will make the roster. Now, Josh Harvey Clemens has the length, athleticism, and coverage skills that you can't teach. He just has to learn to play the position better. All of his struggles come from speed and mental problems, but he has clearly shown his worth in special teams coverage, and he was having a pretty decent camp with the starting defense while Zach Brown was out. And as of right now, Josh Harvey Clemens and Sean Dion Hamilton are our best coverage linebackers. We just got to get them up to speed with the rest of the game. And speaking of Sean Dion Hamilton, he is a tragic story of how injuries can derail a very promising career. His IQ and instincts are all off the charts. Nick Saban appointed him as the captain of the defense while he was playing alongside Reuben Foster and Rashaan Evans. That says a lot. His coverage skills are great. He has so many intangibles and qualities that can't be taught. He just needs to stay healthy enough to progress and develop as a starting linebacker. His ceiling is very high if he can stay healthy. He's one of the players I'm most excited about in the future for the Washington Redskins. If he can stay healthy and be who he should have been in Alabama for us, he will more than likely be one of our biggest draft steals in years. I have 6 cornerbacks making the final 53-man roster with a confidence level of 4.5 out of 5, leaning more to a 5 than a 4. I have Josh Norman, Quentin Dunbar, Fabian Moreau, Adonis Alexander, Greg Stroman, and Danny Johnson. Josh Norman and Quentin Dunbar will be our starting outside corners. Josh Norman is getting up there in age and had a shoulder injury last year, but I'm still expecting him to be very effective in 2018. Undrafted receiver, converted corner Dunbar is getting better at playing corner as time passes. He put some good film out there last year after Josh Norman got hurt. They both look iffy out there against the Broncos, but I'm assuming that was rust and jitters, and we should be fine by week 1. Fabian Moreau has the athleticism and potential to be our best shutdown corner. He just needs time, reps, and some coaching. With his play style in college, he can be our very own Xavier Rhodes. Shutdown corner if he is able to get any type of close to his ceiling. He had first-round talent but fell to us in the 3rd round because he tore his pec in his pro day. Similar to the Kendall Fuller story. Hopefully he can finish the story and have a breakout season just like Kendall did for us. I'm expecting big things from him, and I was hoping he could be nurtured a little longer, but he will be thrown out there into the wolves this year with our current cornerback situation, letting Breland go, trading Kendall Fuller, and releasing Orlando Scandrick a couple of weeks ago. I hope Fabian Moreau can catch up to the NFL speed ASAP. His potential is off the charts. Adonis Alexander, Greg Stroman, and Danny Johnson are all rookies with potential. Adonis Alexander, with his 6'3" and 196-pound build, has the most potential, but Greg Stroman and Danny Johnson can also be effective early. Greg Stroman has a lot of the cornerback position figured out. He's a natural at coverage, very sticky, but he is a little undersized and loses jump balls as a result. But he is also effective in special teams as a return man. That's going to help him make the roster. Danny Johnson has had a good preseason so far with many flashes, and he also has some special teams returning value, like Stroman. I'm confident in him making the roster also. Adonis Alexander's ceiling will inevitably keep him on the roster, and he also has some versatility and experience at safety if the Redskins wanted him to move to safety. Ranthony Texada and Prince Charles put some good tape out there, but I doubt it was enough to take the place over one of these other corners. I have 5 safeties making the 53-man roster with a confidence of 3 out of 5. I have DJ Swearinger, Monte Nicholson, Deshazor Everett, Troy Apke, and Kenny Ladler. DJ Swearinger and Monte Nicholson are a great pair when healthy. DJ struggled a little when Monte's range and athleticism were gone due to injury for a lot of last year. The defense as a whole really actually struggled once we didn't have Monte back there keeping quarterbacks in check. Corners were able to take risks and be more aggressive while Monte was back there to bail them out. But with him gone, the defensive back group began to struggle. We need Monte healthy, and DJ's vocal presence, aggressiveness, passion, and IQ are irreplaceable. Deshazor Everett is a pretty good backup. He isn't great at any particular part of the safety position, but he understands the game and our defense well enough to be good at everything, if not serviceable. 2018 4th-round pick Troy Apke has struggled through the preseason, especially against the Broncos with all of those missed tackles. But he is a project. He was a combine freak, his speed is very rare, and to give him credit, he was in the right places at the right time a lot, but he has to improve his horrible tackling if he wants any real playing time in the NFL. He has a lot of potential, but I'm still undecided on whether or not I feel like he'll even reach his potential. I hope for our sake he does. And with the first 3 safeties I named being as dependable as they are, Troy should have some time to get groomed and brought up to speed. With Troy's value on special teams and the fact that he was just drafted in the 4th round, I would be very surprised to see him not make the 53-man roster, even with his bad game against the Broncos. They're not going to let a 4th-round pick go with him being a project just like Cam Sims, Adonis Alexander, Jerron Christian, Sean Dion Hamilton, and Josh Harvey Clemens. They drafted him knowing his tackling was tragic. Troy's potential will keep him safe this year at least. Fish Smithson is a trusted option in the organization, especially compared to Troy, where if Troy were to enter a game this season, we would be in trouble. But Smithson looked like a somebody last year in preseason, but there hasn't been much progression from him. Kenny Ladler looked obviously better than Smithson in this preseason. Mainly, he was out there making tackles, which couldn't be said about Troy. We don't have to worry about him missing tackles. He was also pretty good in coverage. Kenny is literally the 53rd roster spot that I'm handing out, but if injuries were to strike like they did last year, I believe Kenny would get playing time before Troy Apke. His ceiling is nowhere near as high, but his dependability is far higher as of right now. And finally, the 3 specialists. Confidence level 5 out of 5. Almost wanted to put 6 out of 5. This is the most confident I am in any position group. Dustin Hopkins is a good field goal kicker. He hit the uprights twice in the preseason with one still going in, and also had a kickoff go out of bounds. But he did go 5 for 5 on field goals against the Jets, and he had a good game against the Broncos. Tress Way is a dangerously underrated punter. He changes the field position battle for us in a positive way so consistently. He is a cannon for a leg. He makes our punt coverage team look great. I'm never worried about his effectiveness. One of the most dependable players on our team. And for those that have no idea what Nick Sundberg looks like, y'all welcome. Here he is. But long snapper Nick Sundberg is almost as automatic as a lock gets. He is a long snapper for us. That's what he's on the team for, and he's good at it. But thanks for the view. That is my final 53-man roster prediction. Make sure y'all don't let Mike Fake punch that like button. Favorite, subscribe. I'll subscribe back. I'll be bringing y'all a Daron Payne film session very soon. Thanks for the support. Catch y'all later. I'm out.